It's funny. You spend all those years thinking you've got a solid thing going, like your marriage is one of the stable ones. 10 years with Heather. Felt like bedrock. We laughed at the same stupid jokes, ordered takeout without needing menus, shared those looks across crowded rooms, the ones that wordlessly say, we get each other. That's what I thought we had. Guess I was wrong. It's always like that with us men, isn't it? We blunder along, thinking everything's humming smoothly until the world caves in, until something hits you out of nowhere like a tire iron to the back of the skull. This all started with something ordinary, mundane even. Cleaning out the garage last month, trying to finally wrestle control back from the chaos. You'd think after 8 years in the same house, organization would happen naturally. Nope. It's astonishing the sheer volume of forgotten junk a 2-car garage can absorb. Boxes stacked precariously, some labeled in faded marker, most anonymous monuments to procrastination. Old Christmas lights tangled into Gordian knots, a deflated air mattress that radiated memories of uncomfortable nights. Helen's old booster seat, a relic from when she was small enough to need one. An unopened popcorn maker, probably a wedding gift. Ours, maybe? Who remembers? Anyway, I was knee-deep in cardboard and dust bunnies sweating through my t-shirt when I saw it. Tucked behind a rusty metal shelving unit, coated in a fine layer of grime, was an old beat-up suitcase. Heather's. Beige, scratched leather, vintage-looking. I remembered it vaguely from when we first moved in together. Probably full of old clothes for donation, I figured. Stuff she meant to deal with years ago and never did. Standard garage archaeology. I sat down on an overturned plastic crate, wiped my forehead with the back of my forearm, and wrestled with the stiff zipper. Inside, at first glance, just random clutter. A tangle of keychains, faded postcards, little snow globes with murky water, matchbooks from places I didn't recognize, coasters sticky with the ghosts of spilled drinks, souvenirs, knickknacks people collect, some still in cheap plastic wrap. I picked up a keychain tarnished metal shaped like the Eiffel Tower. Paris? I mumbled, turning it over. I didn't remember Heather ever going to Paris. Not for work, not for fun. I sifted through more. A postcard from Lisbon, the ink slightly smeared. A refrigerator magnet shouting, "Greetings from Vienna!" A coaster from a dimly lit jazz bar in New Orleans. A neatly folded napkin from a tapas place in Barcelona. Now Heather travels, a lot. Pharmaceuticals, big conferences, training seminars, client meetings, always jetting off somewhere. I never questioned it. Why would I? She was ambitious, successful. She'd call from the hotel room, exhausted but exhilarated. Send texts, wish you were here. Long day. Sometimes she'd bring back goofy gifts. A mug with a sarcastic slogan, socks with flamingos, harmless stuff. But these places, Paris, Lisbon, Vienna, Barcelona, never mentioned. Not once. I stood up slowly, rubbing my jaw, just staring down at that open suitcase. It felt like a Pandora's box disguised as forgotten luggage. Later that evening, Heather was in the kitchen, pouring her usual glass of Chardonnay, humming lightly. I decided to test the waters, casual-like. "Hey, babe," I said, leaning against the door frame. "You ever been to Paris?" She looked up, a tiny crease forming between her brows. "Paris? No, why do you ask?" I shrugged, trying to keep my voice light. "Dunno. Found an old Eiffel Tower keychain cleaning the garage. Figured maybe it was from one of your trips I forgot about." She took a sip of wine, smiled easily. "Must be someone else's, maybe my sister's. I think she went ages ago." It could have made sense. Her sister was more Margaritaville than Musée d'Orsay, but maybe. I let it hang there for a beat. "How about Lisbon or Vienna?" This time the smile flickered, just for a fraction of a second, but I saw it. A micro-expression of something. Not quite panic, but close. She laughed, a little too brightly. "Patrick, what's with the geography quiz tonight? Are we playing Trivial Pursuit?" I forced a chuckle. "Just curious. You travel so much, figured maybe you'd mentioned them and it slipped my mind." She waved a dismissive hand, walking past me, brushing a quick kiss against my cheek. The scent of her perfume, usually comforting, now felt like a mask. "You know my trips, hun. Mostly sterile conference rooms and PowerPoint presentations. Nothing glamorous." "Right," I muttered, after her retreating back. "PowerPoint's in paradise." She didn't laugh. Later that night, the garage beckoned me back like a crime scene. Flashlight beam cutting through the dusty air, I knelt by the suitcase again. Some postcards had messages scrawled on the back, in her familiar looping script, addressed to no one in particular, Best risotto I've ever had. Wish I could bottle this night. Another, the music here is electric, makes you feel alive. Vague, but intimate and unsettling. It wasn't just the places, it was the feeling behind the words, a private joy I wasn't part of. That's when the cold dread really started to coil in my gut. Near the suitcase, half buried under a pile of old gardening magazines, was something else. A small, unassuming cardboard box taped shut, no label, heavy for its size. Curiosity, now poisoned with suspicion, gnawed at me. I slit the tape with my pocket knife. Inside, nestled in bubble wrap, wasn't more souvenirs. It was a single, unlabeled VHS tape, ancient technology. Who even had a VCR anymore? We did, actually. An old combo unit relegated to the guest room closet, kept for nostalgia for Helen's childhood Disney movies. A weird sense of unease prickled my skin. Why keep this hidden? Why a VHS? My hands were shaking slightly as I retrieved the VCR DVD player, plugged it into the small TV I kept in the garage for game days. The machine whirred, groaned, then accepted the tape with a clunk. Static filled the screen, then resolved into a grainy, poorly lit image. My stomach lurched. It was a dark room, looked like a basement. Exposed pipes overhead, damp-looking concrete walls. In the center, illuminated by a single harsh bulb, was a woman. She wore a black leather costume, high-necked but with strategic, disturbing cutouts. Her arms were pulled behind her, handcuffed to a heavy metal ring bolted to the wall. Near her feet on the floor was a metal dog bowl like a prop. Her face wasn't clearly visible, hidden by shadows and the poor quality of the recording. But her posture, it wasn't just submission. There was something else, a rigidity that could have been fear or anticipation. The air in the garage felt thick, heavy. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't just weird. It was deeply unsettling, almost sickening. Then the camera panned slightly, revealing a strange symbol painted crudely on the wall behind her. A circle with jagged lines intersecting within it. It didn't look like anything I recognized. It felt ritualistic, occult almost. Not like BDSM play, more like something darker. My heart hammered against my ribs. I felt a cold sweat break out on my neck. Then from the edge of the frame, a figure emerged from the shadows. A man. Dressed in dark clothing, his face also obscured. He approached the woman slowly, deliberately. He stopped in front of her, said something I couldn't make out over the tape hiss. Then another man entered, and another. One by one, they emerged from the darkness, silent figures gathering around her. I counted them, a knot tightening in my gut with each arrival. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 men surrounding the woman in the leather. They didn't touch her, not at first. They just observed. The tension was unbearable. The scene felt staged, yet terrifyingly real, like watching a J-horror film, but worse because this tape was here, in my garage. One of the men produced something, a black leather mask, the kind that covers the entire head, featureless except for zippered mouth and eye holes. He held it up. Another produced a large red rubber ball gag on a strap. The woman, did she flinch? Or did she tilt her head slightly, offering access? I couldn't be sure. The poor lighting, the graininess. It was maddeningly ambiguous, but the hair, the way it fell around her shoulders, the curve of her neck, the slight build, it was horrifyingly familiar. Could it be? No, it couldn't be Heather. This was some bizarre found footage, some sicko's art project maybe. But then the camera zoomed, clumsily, shakily towards her neck as one of the men approached with the gag. And there, just below her jawline on the left side, illuminated for a split second by the harsh light, a small, crescent-shaped scar, faint but distinct. My blood ran cold. Heather had that exact scar. From a childhood fall off a swing set, she'd told me. Her little moon, she sometimes called it. My stomach revolted. I lunged for the VCR, hitting eject. The tape popped out, and I scrambled away from the TV, gagging. I stumbled out of the garage into the cool night air, gasping, leaning against the wall, trying not to vomit. What the hell was that? Was it real? Some twisted fantasy roleplay? A terrifying glimpse into a secret life I couldn't begin to comprehend? The ambiguity was almost worse than certainty. The possibility that the woman on the tape, surrounded by those silent men, was my wife? It was a horror beyond imagining. I wish I could tell you I confronted Heather right then and there, waved the tape in her face, demanded answers, that I was the kind of man who could face the abyss head on. But I wasn't. I was terrified. terrified of what the tape meant, terrified of what else I might find. Instead, I did what scared, desperate people do. I dug deeper, needing proof, needing something concrete to anchor the swirling chaos in my head. That night, while Heather slept beside me, her breathing soft and even, the picture of innocence, I reached for my phone. Our passwords, shared years ago in a gesture of trust that now felt like a cruel joke. A few taps, and I was in her email. The professional stuff first: work correspondence, travel agency confirmations, pharma newsletters. Then I searched. Tyler. The early emails were innocuous enough. Industry talk, shared articles, sarcastic comments about conference speakers. He was a colleague. I vaguely remembered her mentioning the name, but the tone shifted subtly over time. Don't forget the wine this time. Still dreaming about that risotto, huh? You looked amazing. Then, the one that stopped my breath, that blue thong. Still can't get it out of my head. My thumb froze mid-scroll. Tunnel vision. The world narrowing down to the glowing screen and the sickening words. More messages, inside jokes I didn't get, references to restaurants I'd never heard of, photos, casual lunches that suddenly didn't look so casual, and dates, specific dates aligning with her conferences. Can't wait to see you next month. Same hotel? Those 3 days flew by. Let's not wait so long this time. Numbness spread through me. It felt like watching a movie of someone else's life imploding. The next day, while Heather was out running errands, I pulled up our shared credit card statements online. Peace of mind, I told myself, knowing it was a lie. Charges from expensive restaurants in Orlando, a city she'd never mentioned visiting for work. A jazz bar receipt, a rooftop wine lounge, hotel charges, some under her name, some under H. Keller, her maiden name. The dates synced perfectly with the emails, the fabricated work trips. I felt physically ill. I wanted to stop looking, to crawl into bed and pretend none of it was real. But I couldn't. I needed the whole ugly picture. Desperation breeds recklessness. I called her office, impersonating an IT guy, doing a routine internal security check after a supposed data breach. Spun some bullcrap story about verifying employee travel logs. Susan, or whatever her name was, sounded reluctant, but I must have sounded official enough. She emailed me Heather's official work travel itinerary for the past year. I stared at the spreadsheet, cross-referencing dates like a detective cracking a cold case. The official trips versus the credit card charges, the email timelines, the hotel bookings under her maiden name, the lies layered upon lies. Half her work trips for the last 5 years were ghosts. No conference, no training, no networking, just Tyler. Orlando, San Diego. That's where it started, wasn't it? A real conference 5, maybe 6 years ago. I pieced it together from the email chain. She'd even sent me a photo from the venue. Smiling colleagues, name badges, tote bags. Tyler must have been just out of frame. Or maybe he took the goddamn picture. What started as industry networking morphed into texts, calls during her panel discussions, and finally, this 5 years of cheating, and then the final brutal blow. Helen knew. Our daughter. My daughter in every way that mattered. I found the texts buried in Heather's cloud backups, synced carelessly, perhaps. Conversations between mother and daughter spanning 2 years. Heather coaching Helen. Tell Patrick I called this morning if he asks. Remember, I'm supposed to be in Houston, not Atlanta. Thanks for covering, sweetie. I owe you big time. Worse, much worse. God, Patrick is being so needy lately. Can't wait for this weekend. And Helen's replies, Don't worry, Mom. Got it covered. LOL, he is kind of clueless sometimes. Just hang in there. You deserve to be happy. And the one that felt like swallowing acid. He's such a fool, Mom. Seriously, the way he fusses over you, you have to dump him right after I finish college. Use him for the tuition, then ditch the loser. He's so annoying sometimes. I sat there, staring at the phone screen, the words blurring through a haze of rage and disbelief. Helen, the girl I taught to ride a bike, the one I stayed up late with helping with homework, the kid whose tears I wiped away after her first breakup, my partner in crime for movie nights, my sous chef for pancake breakfasts. She knew. For 2 years, she'd been actively participating in the deception, looking me in the eye, calling me dad while thinking I was a fool to be used and discarded. Every hug, every shared laugh, every love you, Dad, felt like a poisoned dart. Was any of it real? The next week was a special kind of hell, pretending, going through the motions while my insides were churning acid. I couldn't eat. Sleep evaded me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw fragments. Heather laughing. Was it with Tyler? The grainy image from the tape, Helen's texts mocking me. Heather went on another work trip. Tampa, supposedly. I watched her pack, kissed her goodbye at the door, like always. Break a leg, I'd said, my voice sounding hollow even to myself, waving like a goddamn idiot as her Uber pulled away. How many times had this scene played out, a prelude to betrayal? Did she kiss him with the same mouth? The thought haunted me, ambushing me at random moments, washing dishes, stuck in traffic. How long have I been the fool? And Helen? Jesus, Helen. I'd helped her pick out dorm room decorations, celebrated her acceptance letter, listened to her worries about classes, all while she held this secret, this contempt for me. My life wasn't just a lie. It was a stage play where I was the oblivious idiot everyone backstage was laughing at. I wanted to explode the moment Heather walked back through the door. But I waited. I needed to be strategic, controlled, or maybe I was just a coward. Finally, 3 days after she returned, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. Helen was out with friends, a small mercy. Heather was in the kitchen, humming, pouring wine. The picture of domestic normalcy. It made my blood boil. I stood in the doorway. She turned, smiled. Hey, you okay? You've been quiet today. My throat felt like sandpaper. My heart pounded a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Heather, I said, my voice steady, dangerously calm. We need to talk. I saw it instantly, the flicker in her eyes. Confusion, then a dawning dread, that deer in headlights look. She tried to mask it. Patrick, is everything okay? A harsh, bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. No, Heather, I said, shaking my head slowly. Everything is most definitely not okay. She stepped back, her wine glass trembling slightly. What are you talking about? I walked past her into the living room, sank onto the couch. The weight of it all felt crushing. I looked up at her, her face pale now, anxious. I know about Tyler, I said, clearly, deliberately. The wine glass hit the counter with a sharp clink. Maybe she dropped it, maybe she slammed it down. Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. The color drained from her face completely. Her mouth opened, closed, like she was searching for the right lie, the right deflection from a script she'd clearly rehearsed. But I didn't give her the chance. I laid it all out. The emails, the flights, the Orlando hotels, the H. Keller bookings, the credit card charges, the fabricated work trips, the 5 years. Each piece of evidence hammered another nail into the coffin of us. She sank onto the armchair opposite me, her legs seemingly unable to hold her. She didn't argue, didn't deny. She just started to cry. Not the quiet tears I'd seen before. This was racking, gulping sobs, mascara running in black rivulets down her cheeks, shoulders shaking. The old instinct flared, reach out, comfort her. I crushed it ruthlessly. That Patrick was dead. I'm sorry, Patrick, she choked out between sobs. I never meant... It went on too long. I love you. I really do, but... Tyler, I have feelings. I'm so confused. I didn't know how to end it, how to tell you. I just stared, listening to her try to reconcile loving me with systematically betraying me for half our marriage. How long? I asked, my voice flat. How long has Helen known? She flinched like I'd struck her. Her eyes darted away. Guilt washed over her face, unmistakable. 2 years, she whispered, voice barely audible. She saw a message on my phone. Accidentally, she asked. I made her promise not to tell you. I told her I'd end it with Tyler. I was going to, but you didn't, I stated, the coldness in my voice surprising even myself. You coached her. You dragged our daughter, my daughter, into your filth and told her to lie to my face. You call that complicated? The disgust rose like bile in my throat. She just sobbed harder, face buried in her hands. I couldn't stand the sight of her. Then the image of the tape flashed in my mind. The dark room, the leather, the men, the scar. And there's more, isn't there? My voice was dangerously low now. I walked over to the entertainment center, retrieved the VHS tape from where I'd hidden it. I held it up. Her eyes widened in horror. Recognition dawning. What the hell is this, Heather? No! She gasped, scrambling to her feet. Patrick, it's not what you think. It wasn't real. Not real? I stalked towards her, holding the tape like it was radioactive. Then explain it. Explain the leather, the handcuffs, the 7 guys in the basement. Explain the damn scar, Heather. I practically shoved the tape in her face. I zoomed in. Don't tell me that's not your scar. Terror filled her eyes. Patrick, please, she begged, tears streaming. It was a long time ago, before Tyler even, it was complicated. I was pressured, forced into it. Forced, I scoffed, remembering the grainy image, the ambiguity that now seemed chillingly clear. You were laughing, Heather, or maybe smiling. Hard to tell with the crap quality, but you didn't look forced. What the hell was going on behind the camera? What didn't I see? What kind of sick ritual? The questions tumbled out, fueled by horror and revulsion. My stomach churned again. The thought of those men with my wife, staged or not, forced or not, made me want to rage, to break something. Get out, I said, the words ice cold. Get your crap and get out of my house. Patrick, no, please! She grabbed for my arm, but I yanked it away as if her touch burned. We can fix this. I'll end it with Tyler, I swear. I'll do anything. You threw away 10 years, Heather, I snarled, the control snapping. Every lie, every secret trip, every time you pretended with me, well, whatever that was, I gestured wildly with the tape, was happening. You threw it away. I stormed upstairs, grabbed the suitcase, her suitcase, the one she used for her trips, and started yanking clothes from her closet, drawers, stuffing them in with brutal efficiency. Sweaters, jeans, lingerie, it all went in, crumpled and uncared for. I hauled it downstairs. Outside, a sudden downpour had started, rain lashing against the windows. Perfect. She was still pleading, incoherent apologies spilling out. I didn't listen. I dragged the suitcase to the front door, opened it, and hurled her clothes, the suitcase itself, out onto the drenched lawn. Fabric darkened instantly in the soaking rain. Get out, I roared, pointing. Now! She stared at the heap of her belongings scattered in the rain, then back at me, her face a mask of devastation and disbelief. She stumbled out into the downpour, sobbing, beginning to gather her ruined things. I slammed the door shut, the sound echoing in the sudden silence of the house. Leaning my forehead against the cool wood, I heard her car start, the tires squealing as she pulled away. And then the dam broke. I slid down the door, landing hard on the floor, and the sobs ripped through me, raw, agonizing, guttural sounds I didn't recognize as my own. For the life I thought I had, the love I thought was real, the woman I thought I knew, all washed away in a tide of lies and grotesque secrets. Helen came home the next afternoon, oblivious, bouncing in, talking about some party, kicking off her shoes, seeing her cheerfulness, knowing what I knew, knowing what she thought of me. It was like rubbing salt into a gaping wound. I waited until after dinner. She was at the sink, rinsing her plate. Calmly, I said, Helen, we need to talk. She turned, smiling. What's up? Your mother is staying with your aunt, I stated flatly. Her smile faltered. Why? What happened? I know about Tyler, I said, watching her face crumble. And I know you've known. For 2 years. Shock, guilt, fear, tears welled instantly. I'm so sorry, she choked out. Mom made me promise. She said it would break up the family. And you believed her? My voice cracked. For 2 years you lied to my face? I pulled out my phone, navigated to the saved screenshots of her texts. The ones calling me a fool, annoying, suggesting her mom used me for tuition, then dumped me. I held the phone up so she could see them. Is this also part of not wanting to break up the family, Helen? Calling me a loser fool behind my back while I pay for your education? Planning my disposal? Her face went ashen. The tears turned into strangled sobs as she read her own words. She looked utterly horrified, caught red-handed, not just in the cover-up, but in her contempt. No, Patrick, Dad, I didn't mean... Don't call me Dad, I snapped, the words suddenly tasting like poison. You lost that right. Pack your things. You're going to stay with your mother. What? No, please. Panic flared in her eyes. Don't make me go. I want to stay here, with you. She lunged forward, reaching, expecting comfort, forgiveness. I stepped back. You made your choice, Helen. You chose to lie, chose to mock me, chose to help her. Now you live with the consequences. My voice was hard, unforgiving. And that college fund I've been building for you. Consider it gone, every penny. I'm not paying another dime for your education after reading that. And the car? I pointed towards the driveway, to the used sedan I'd proudly bought her for her 18th birthday. The one I paid for? Give me the keys. Her jaw dropped. No, Patrick. Please. Keys. Now. I held out my hand, implacable. With trembling fingers choking back sobs, she fumbled in her pocket and dropped the keys into my palm. The cold metal felt like a small, bitter victory. Get your stuff! Now! Suddenly, her legs seemed to give out. She collapsed onto the floor, right there in the hallway, landing heavily on her knees. Her body convulsed with huge, racking sobs, her face buried in her hands. It was a raw, agonizing display of despair. Part of me, the part that had loved her for a decade, screamed to help her up, to take it back. But the betrayal, the contempt in those texts, it formed a wall of ice around my heart. She eventually hauled herself up, face red and swollen, snot and tears mingling, and ran upstairs. I heard drawers slamming, muffled wails. 20 minutes later, she came down, backpack over one shoulder, duffel bag clutched tight. "Please," she whispered, voice ragged. "I love you, Dad. Please don't do this." That word again. It ripped at me, but I saw the text superimposed over her tear-streaked face. "Go," I said, my voice cracking despite myself. "Now!" She turned, defeated, and walked out the door. The sound of her duffel bag bumping down the steps, fading into the afternoon quiet. I stood there long after she was gone, the silence deafening. The next morning, I closed the joint account, taking my half. Then I liquidated Helen's college fund. It felt brutal, like amputating a limb, but necessary. Consequences. Heather's family descended like vultures. Texts, calls, voicemails. Her sister called me a heartless bastard for kicking out Helen. I texted back a vicious reply about Helen being an adult accomplice and maybe she should worry about her own issues. Her parents threatened legal action over the money, over Helen. Pathetic. Then her father, Dennis, showed up, blocked my driveway. "What kind of man are you?" he snarled. "They're depressed. It's your fault." Something snapped. I got right in his face. "No, Dennis. This is Heather's fault for screwing another man for 5 years. This is Helen's fault for lying to my face for 2. They made their choices." He started puffing up, looking like he might swing. Then I saw it, the bulge under his jacket, a shoulder holster. He'd brought a goddamn Magnum, looked like. He actually put his hand towards it. "You gonna shoot me, Dennis?" I asked, my voice dangerously soft, laced with utter contempt. "Put a bullet in me because your daughter couldn't keep her legs closed and your granddaughter helped her hide it? You're pathetic. A dumb, sad old man." I saw the flicker of shock, then rage in his eyes, but also fear. He hadn't expected this. "Get the hell off my property," I spat, shoving him hard in the chest. He stumbled back, startled. "Don't ever come near me again or that Magnum won't save you from a restraining order and harassment charges." I slammed my front door before he could react. He never came back. The divorce was swift, brutal, and clinical. No fault state. Assets split 50-50ths. No alimony, no child support. Heather pushed for counseling. Helen wrote a tearful statement in court about wanting the family back together. I shut it down cold. "This family broke when trust became optional," I told the judge. "She knows why." The gavel fell. Freedom, hollow and strange. Therapy helps some days. Dr. Fielding calls it betrayal trauma. But the triggers are everywhere. Helen's unanswered emails pile up, full of desperate apologies I can't bring myself to read. My sister thinks I was too harsh on Helen. My parents think I wasn't harsh enough. Then the call from my mom. Heather's mom had called her. Heather was hospitalized. Suicide attempt. Under observation. Medicated. Helen wasn't eating, wouldn't leave her room. My mom told her Mother Karma was a bitch and hung up. I felt nothing. Or rather, a cold, grim satisfaction mixed with a weary kind of pity I didn't want to acknowledge, especially for Helen. That little girl part of me still mourned, but she wasn't little anymore. One loose end remained. Tyler, the architect of so much of this pain. Anger, cold and calculating, had been simmering. It needed an outlet. I made a call. Used a connection from years ago. Someone who knows people who handle delicate situations. Expensive, but worth it. They were professionals. Untraceable. The last scene plays out not for me, but for Tyler. It's late, raining again. He's walking to his car after leaving some upscale bar, probably meeting another man's wife. A dark panel van screeches to a halt beside him. 2 large men jump out, moving with brutal efficiency. Before Tyler can react, a hand clamps over his mouth. Another arm crushes his chest. He's bundled into the back of the van, a thick hood yanked over his head, darkness and the smell of stale sweat enveloping him. The van speeds off, jostling him violently. No words are spoken inside, just the hum of the engine and the drumming rain. After what feels like an eternity, the van bumps over uneven ground, finally stopping deep within some woods. He's hauled out, stumbling in the mud, the hood still blinding him. Rain soaks him instantly. "Start digging!" a rough voice commands. A shovel handle is thrust into his hands. Panic claws at him. "Digging? What? Who are you?" What do you want? Just dig, the voice repeats, menacingly calm. The unmistakable click of a handgun safety being released echoes near his ear. Terror lending him strength, Tyler digs. The mud is thick, heavy. Rain plasters his hair to his scalp, runs into his eyes beneath the hood. He digs frantically, imagining his own grave. Hours seem to pass. His muscles scream. His hands are raw. The hole deepens. Finally, they tell him to stop. He's shaking, exhausted, terrified. He stands waist deep in the muddy pit. You like messing with other men's wives, huh? The first voice says conversationally, right beside him. Think it's a game? I don't know what you're talking about, Tyler stammers, though his mind races, trying to figure out which angry husband this could be. Politicians' wives, cops' wives, the second voice chimes in, low and gravelly. You stepped on the wrong toes, pal. Crossed a line with a very powerful man, a man who doesn't like his property being touched. Tyler's blood runs cold. Politicians, cops, this is bigger than just some jealous husband. This, the first voice says, gesturing towards the grave. This is a warning. Consider it your first and only. Suddenly, Tyler is hauled out of the pit, shoved face down into the mud. He feels the cold, hard press of a barrel against the back of his head. He squeezes his eyes shut under the hood, bracing for the end, muttering frantic prayers or curses. Bang! The explosion is deafeningly close. Dirt sprays his face. He flinches violently, expecting oblivion. But there's no pain. Just ringing in his ears and the smell of cordite mixing with wet earth. A fake shot. Psychological warfare. He lies there, trembling uncontrollably in the mud, the hood still over his head, listening as the men get back in the van. He hears the engine start, the tires spinning in the mud, then fading into the distance, leaving him alone in the dark, rainy woods, miles from anywhere, soaked, freezing, and utterly terrified. Next time, one of the voices echoes in his memory, it'll be real. He'll find his way out eventually, changed, looking over his shoulder for the rest of his miserable life, and maybe, just maybe, that thought brings me a sliver of peace in the wreckage.